Been waiting for this. Okay, so while we're waiting for folks to come online, I am going to see if Shweta can send me a note and I can read the comments. Hello, there she is, looking good. All right, great. Great. Okay, I think we're ready then. So, hi Christy, thanks for joining. Okay, I think we're ready to pan back. That's right. Cord Burk is in the house, everybody. Let's give it up for my stagehand. Woo-hoo! Thank you, Cord. Yay! Hi, everyone. It's Friday, and I am so happy you're here. I'm so glad we're doing this. This is so exciting. While we're waiting for folks to come online, I hope you don't mind, I need to do a little kitchen prep. Would you like to join me? Okay, great. So one of the first things we need to do, let me ask you a question. What's the first thing we need to do when we get into the kitchen? That's right, we need to wash our hands. I know we've all become really hand-washing fiends in the age of COVID, and so I'm, following along with that tradition. Get my hands nice and clean, ready to cook. All right. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is put on my apron. So, for me, aprons are really ritualistic, right? Like when I get home from work and I'm in work mode, and then I come home, and when I put on that apron, that's when I really kind of switch gears and just start to relax and know that I'm ready to cook some dinner, hang out, have a nice evening. So I'm gonna put my apron on now and kind of switch gears. I don't know about you, but I'm very partial to the retro aprons, and I have a lot of aprons from my grandma's that I've kept. I'm also very partial to the smock apron. So I have here for you today, we're gonna wear a smock apron that belonged to my grandma Sadie. And I'm gonna put it on, smock-like. One of the fun things about this particular smock apron is that it has these really cool buttons. So it kind of cinches at the waist. So you get a little waistline with your smock. Oops, I put it on wrong. I gotta switch it. I wanna have my pockets in the front. For those who are joining, thank you for coming online, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm just putting on my fun retro smock apron that belonged to my grandma Sadie, so I can be ready to cook. Just putting it on right. There we go. Pockets in the front. This apron, as I said, it belonged to my grandma Sadie, and she passed away when I was 1, so I never had the opportunity. I don't remember. I mean, of course I knew her, but I don't remember. And what's interesting is that she was a great Armenian cook, but she didn't pass along her recipes to her daughters. So my mom and my auntie, they really didn't learn. And when she died early, quite young, of breast cancer, those recipes, they died with her. And then, on my the paternal side, my dad's mom, Grandma Florence, who I'm remembering today with these bracelets, my Grandma Florence, she had 2 sons. She didn't teach them her Armenian recipes either. I mean, I learned a few things from her, but I would say on balance, those recipes really, they died with her. And so here we have a great example in, an Armenian family of 2 grandmas who are now gone, who really carried most of that knowledge. They didn't pass that knowledge on to my mom and my dad, who are now in their late 70s. And, but there are some in that age range who did get that knowledge. But when they pass, what's going to happen to those recipes? What's going to happen to those techniques? Those kind of home cooking, traditional Armenian recipes and techniques, they run the risk of dying with those, with those people. And so my interest and one of my passions is to think about it as like excavating. I want to find those recipes and I want to bring them to life. I want to learn them and I want to pass them along. And so I have been working on that and documenting them through my website, through my blog, which is called The Stranger in Your Kitchen. And you can find us on Facebook at Fresno Armenian. At Fresno Armenian is where you can find the blog's Facebook page. But I think that, that's really the impetus for me wanting to do this type of project. And I was very lucky, very, very lucky that in 2019, I was awarded an ACTA apprenticeship. And through that apprenticeship, I was really able to study in a dedicated, structured way. I was able to study Armenian recipes from my mentor, Z. Well, her name is Zaruhi, but she goes by Z Bedrosian. And so each month of the year, I would go into her home last year, and she would teach me her secrets and all of her amazing recipes. And I want to read you a quote about kind of art and apprenticeships that I found today. And it says, all the arts we practice are apprenticeship. The big art is our life. So all the arts we practice are apprenticeship, and the big art is our life. And today's cooking demo is actually dedicated to a very special life. It's dedicated to the life of Z's late husband, Rafi Bedrosian. Rafi passed away last Saturday night, and after a very short battle with cancer, but a long battle of illness. And I wanted to say a few words about Rafi before we get started. And as I do that, I want to just take a moment and really welcome everyone who's come on board, friends, family, friends of the ACTA family. Thank you so much for being here this Friday afternoon. My name is Julianne Burk, and I was a 2019 ACTA apprenticeship under Zaruhi, or Z Bedrosian. And her husband, Rafi, as I was just saying, Rafi passed away on last Saturday night. And he was very special, and in many ways, he taught me as much about Armenian cooking as Z did, although he wasn't the chef in the family. Rafi would stand in the doorway and, really kind of pipe in with comments, kind of color commentary about the dishes. He would give cultural context, linguistic context, historical context. He was definitely an intellectual. And he would also just give me a hard time. And throughout the course of our year together last year, I really grew to know him, and I really grew to love him. And I remember him always standing looking on. There's another story that actually is the impetus for today's recipe that I want to share about Rafi. So one day I was in Z's kitchen and we were about to make hummus. And she brings out, the dried chickpeas, because everything she made was from scratch, like scratch, back to the basics. So she starts with the dried chickpeas, and then she soaks them for 12 hours, ends up with a paste. From the paste, she then adds these various ingredients, and the paste turns into what we know as hummus. It's a long process, and she will tell you it is a messy process, and it takes at least 12 hours, and a lot of dishes, and a lot of spoons, and it tastes wonderful, but on balance, I think most of us would just go, pick up a tub of hummus from the store. It's just the cost benefit, in terms of the time, doesn't always equal out to making scratch hummus. So I'm at Z's house, and she's taking me through this long hummus process, and Rafi comes up, and he kind of comes up behind me like this, and he brings out a blender. And then, I'm going to go get the next thing that he brought. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. And he comes out with one of these. A can of chickpeas. What? Sacrilege. I said, Rafi, what are you doing? So he opens up the can of chickpeas and he dumps it in the blender and he throws a few things in it, turns it on. He said, I don't have time to wait for Z's hummus. I make mine in 10 minutes. And he walks away. And it was so cute. So he said, oh, by the way, if you're interested, I can tell you my recipe. So I did write down his recipe, and actually I do make it a lot more than I make Z's hummus because, like, let's be honest, it takes a long time for Z's process. So, but what I want to put forward today is a new recipe that I came up with, and it's called Perfect Union Hummus, and it's called that because it blends the best part of Z's recipe, which includes a secret ingredient that I'm going to tell you about, and the best part of Rafi's hummus. So put them together and you have Perfect Union Hummus, and it's kind of a symbol for their marriage. They were the perfect union, truly. You know, Z is this caregiving, creative cook, kind of zip, 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 moves around the kitchen like a tornado, you know, just always on the go. And Rafi was this more like slower moving, intellectual, kind of witty, sarcastic, but you bring them together and you truly did have the perfect union. And Rafi will be so very missed, so very missed. So without further ado, I'm going to start cooking. I'm going to stop talking and start cooking. Okay, so now we're going to make Perfect Union Hummus. We're going to start with 1 can of chickpeas. This is called Mideast brand. I get it at the Middle Eastern market, but really any brand of chickpeas that you want to use is absolutely fine. I'm going to open it up with a can opener. My sister-in-law, who may be watching, she tells me she prefers jarred chickpeas. She doesn't like the taste of canned chickpeas. For me, I can't tell the difference, and I really like cans because they're infinitely recyclable. However, if you like it in a jar, go ahead. What I want to get now is a little colander. This is a little small one, which is perfect for 1 can of chickpeas. And I'm just going to pour them right in. And then I'm going to rinse them a little bit. And this is probably the best way to avoid getting gas. I mean, it's kind of, you know, I mean, it's maybe not the most dignified thing to talk about, but I mean, these are beans. So if you rinse them, you're going to just feel so much better after you eat this hummus. Okay, so now that we've rinsed these, we're going to dump them in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the juice of 1 lemon. So I'm going to cut this lemon. And then, I know you're not supposed to turn your back to the audience, so I'm going to back up this way. Hi. And I'm going to grab my old school lemon juicer. And first I might just take out some of the seeds that I can see. And I'm going to juice like so. Now this may be the only arm exercise I get today, so I'm going to make it worth it. Okay, there's 1. And here's 2. So some lemons are really juicy and some are less juicy, and we're going to solve for that. We are going to solve for that in this recipe. That inconsistency in the amount of juice you get from 1 lemon. I don't know if that's something that bothers you, but it actually bothers me. So we're gonna like I said, we're gonna solve for it in just a second. So the top of the little juicer comes off, obviously, and the seeds are kept with that. We're gonna put that right in here. And then we're just gonna pour the lemon juice right into our food processor. And a word about using a Cuisinart. So I think a Cuisinart is best for hummus. Sometimes I have tried it in the Vitamix, and you know, because it's tall, the problem is that it really gets air pockets. It's not able to circulate as well, so you spend a lot of time clearing out the air pockets, and you never really get the kind of grind that you need to come up with a really good consistency. So if you have a food processor, I would say it's recommended. Obviously, Rafi made his in a blender, but this is what I do. The next thing we want to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, Rafi said just use a splash, and it took me a while to figure out what a splash was, kind of in proper measurement terms. One of my challenges with this cooking project that I do is documentation. A lot of these old Armenian cooks will tell you, you know, just a handful of this, you know, a splash of that. What does that mean? You mean a quarter cup? Do you mean 2 tablespoons? Like, give me something, specific here. So a lot of times I just have to, trial and error. I have to come home and practice it a bunch of different times. Fortunately, I have a lot of good eaters around here, so I have lots of people to try it and tell me whether or not it worked. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tahini. This is sesame tahini by Middle East brand. There it is. Thanks to my husband, the amazing stagehand for the spotlight. That's right. So what we're going to do is I always mix it up first, because the thing about tahini sauce, you see I have a knife here. The thing about tahini sauce is that it has different densities within it. It's made of sesame paste and oil. So the sesame paste kind of goes to the bottom and then the oil rises to the top. So if you simply take your tablespoons right from the top, you're going to get mostly oil and you won't get that really rich, delicious sesame taste that we associate with hummus. So it's important to stir it up a little bit. Okay, that's good. Having done that, my dog is over here. I think she smells that we're cooking and she thinks that she's gonna get some, but she doesn't get to have any hummus. Okay, so now we're gonna pour 2 tablespoons of tahini sauce right in here. There's 1 and 2. Great. If this were a cooking show, there'd be some music right now in the background. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, we need some salt. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get some salt. Now, I'm going to grab a teaspoon. So, right here. So Rafi always uses a teaspoon. Myself, I don't use a teaspoon. I think it's a little too much. But then I don't really like food very salty. So I do a little bit less than a teaspoon. And I use kosher salt because I like kosher salt pretty much in everything. So we've got that. The next thing we're going to add is 2 garlics. Again, this is kind of up to you. You may say that you don't like a lot of garlic, and then so just use 1. Or you may say that you are obsessed with garlic and you don't care who you're going to kiss after you have this hummus. You just want to have it. So great. In that case, go to town. Put in 3 garlics or 4. It's up to you. But I think 2 for me is just kind of just right. So all I'm going to do is, like you saw me smash them and peel them and just cut off the edges. That's all you have to do. The food processor is going to take care of the rest. That part doesn't look so good, so I'm going to just cut it off like so. So 2 garlics. And now for the secret ingredient. Yes, the secret ingredient is citric acid. How about that? This is, I'm going to show you. This is citric acid, which I get at the Armenian market, but you could also get it at, if you find any Middle Eastern market or even cooking store, I think you should be able to find it. Citric acid is the secret ingredient to Z's hummus. And what it does is, it does 2 things. The first thing it does is it lightens the color of the hummus. I don't know why, I don't know how, but if you use, and I'm going to just put in maybe half a teaspoon. You're going to see when you use citric acid that the color of your hummus is just going to open up. It's going to look more like when you get it in a restaurant. The other thing that I really appreciate about citric acid is it adds a level of tanginess that you will not get with lemons alone. And like I said, if you have a lemon that's, maybe a little bit smaller or a bit of a dud, or let's say you have a Meyer lemon. When we're here in Fresno, we have a lot of Meyer lemons. Okay, so it's a sweeter lemon, you're gonna miss the tanginess. You're just simply not going to get it. So that's where citrus acid really comes in handy. Or let's say, here's a scenario. Let's say you only have a half a lemon. Don't worry, you can still make your hummus. Just add extra citric acid and a little more water. You're good to go. And as you can hear Katie, I don't know if you can hear our dog Katie in the background, she doesn't understand what's happening and she's very disappointed that she's not part of this program. However, it is what it is. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add 1 ounce of water. I mean, really the amount of water you add is up to you. I'm gonna add 1 ounce because that's the amount that I've settled on that I like to get the thickness that I like. Some people want their hummus a little bit runnier. Some people want it a little thicker. Again, it's entirely up to you, but I would say you're safe to start with 1/8 of a cup or 1 ounce. And the reason that I say that is because you do need enough hummus to get everything moving around in the food processor. What you don't want is for it to be stuck. You really want it to flow. So watch this. We're gonna turn it on. See how it's really flowing? So it's moving around really nicely. That's how you know that you're gonna get excellent hummus. And I'm gonna turn it off because it's really loud. But what I wanna tell you is to be patient. You will need at least 2 minutes, if not more, to get all of the chunks out of your chickpeas. And some chickpeas are, not all chickpeas are light. You may need even more. And if you do, then you do. Just keep going. It's not too long. It'll just whip up and whip up and whip up, and pretty soon it'll look like this. So there you have some beautiful hummus. But then it begs the question, and this is the perfect union hummus, right? But then it begs the question of, well, what are we going to use to dip with this hummus, right? So since we're talking about Armenian food and we're talking about Fresno, there's really only one answer, and that is lavash, of course. So I want to show you something that I bought here in Fresno. Isn't that beautiful? This is traditional Armenian cracker bread. It's called lavash. It's kind of like matzah in the sense that it's unleavened. And I'm going to show you, when you open it up and you pull it out. Oh, this one didn't make it. But look how beautiful that is. This one didn't make it. Imagine if it was fully round. But look how beautiful that is. Isn't that just beautiful? So what we do with the with the lavash is we wet it. Okay, so imagine you've got your sink. Literally, you can see what I'm doing. Just right under the sink like that. Just wet it. And what that's gonna do is it's still gonna be crunchy for a while, and that's when you wanna eat it. You wanna eat it immediately. So it's still gonna be crunchy, but it's not gonna be so dry and almost powdery, pasty in your mouth. It's gonna be more like bread. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some lavash and I'm gonna break it into some chunks. So you see here, and this has sesames on it because I like sesames on it, but you can also get it plain. So we're gonna break it into some chunks and put it on a plate, and we're gonna come back to it because I'm gonna use it to make a little sandwich. Like I said, we're gonna have a picnic. So here we have a little dish, and we're gonna just put some of this lavash right here. And like I said, we'll come back to it for our sandwich. Okay. So you may wonder, what are you gonna do if you live somewhere that you can't find this beautiful lavash? And I understand, because I have lived on the East Coast for a good portion of my life, and I could not get my hands on these beauties. They don't travel well, because as you can see, they were made right here in Fresno, and they're already broken. So what are you gonna do? Okay, so your second option is a lavash cracker, which will be a little bit easier to find, especially throughout California. Enter the lavash hearts. These are made right near my office in downtown Fresno on P Street by the Sagatalian family, and they've been making them for a long time at Valley Lavash. So the lavash hearts are really great because you don't have to wet them. They're already ready to eat, and you can just dip them right into your hummus, and you can have a nice picnic lunch. Yeah, but as I said, you may be watching this and you may not even find the lavash hearts. And that has happened to me at many stages in my life living away from Fresno. So now I'm going to tell you the third option. This is Plan C. to go with your hummus and have a really traditional Armenian flavor. And that is akmak. Yes. So akmak is made by the Julianne family in Sanger, California. And that's right down the road from here. And it's whole wheat goodness. Yes, it is. And I think that you're going to see, it looks very similar to the lavash. It is lavash, but it's whole wheat. So it's a little bit darker. It comes in these little panels, and then you just break it up, and you have 4 panels. It's really good for you. It's very hearty. It's very filling. So when I lived in Connecticut, when I was going to graduate school, when I lived in Pennsylvania, I could always get akmak. So when I couldn't get lavash and I couldn't get lavash hearts, this is always what I turn to. So I'm going to put some of these on our plate in case we need to have akmak. So now what else can we have to really make our picnic, special, more exciting? Well, we need some cheese, of course. And so what I want to show you is Armenian string cheese. So this is also something that I have been able to get no matter where I've lived. I've always been able to get my hands on it. Not always at a quote-unquote Armenian market, but at some kind of Middle Eastern market. This is braided Armenian string cheese. And you might have seen it at the store in like a Middle Eastern market and like walked past it going, that's interesting, but I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to show you. So the first thing we need to do is open it. It comes plastic wrapped. So I start with some clean kitchen shears. Remove this. I start with some clean kitchen shears, and I just kind of go around and just kind of start to open it like so. Okay, and then once I've got the top open, I just come through and kind of cut along the side here until I get the whole thing out. And the way that it comes out, this is really cool. The way that it comes out, you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's braided. Can you see that it's braided? So what you want to do is just pull it apart. See that? See how it's braided? So you want to just pull it apart and kind of unbraid it, free it. Try not to break it, try not to break it. Yeah. So my job when we were growing up, and we'd always have everyone over on Christmas Eve, my cousins who are watching might remember, my job was to always string the cheese, or that's what we called it, stringing the cheese. Is to unbraid, to take this massive braid of cheese, it comes together right here at this tip, and then you just kind of free it. And then look at that, pull it apart. See that? Almost looks like a hair on a doll, like doll's hair. Pulling it apart. And then my quest was always to see how thin I could get it, but also how long. So could I get the longest, thinnest braids of the cheese? And I have to say that I'm very proud of my work today. I think I'm doing great. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look how long it is. There's like a whole other level here today. This is epic. This is so great. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is so exciting. Okay, so now what you do is you start pulling it apart. See that? And just pull it apart. And then you pull it apart some more. So you just go thinner and thinner. So here's a piece you might say, oh, that's pretty thin. Well, now watch. Now put your hands in the middle and kind of pull it apart some more. And the more the thin, so I think the thinner the better, but it's up to you how much thin, how thin you want to make it. But I think, it just melts in your mouth. It's so good. So, and then I just start putting it on a plate. I start plating it from there. So I'm going to do just a few. I'm not going to do too many, but I would say that even this, to me, is unacceptably thick. So I would go a little bit, before I plate it, just a little bit thinner. Isn't that fun? You can just kind of play with your cheese. And if my brother's watching, he's disgusted because he actually doesn't eat cheese. But I do. So what we're gonna do next, now that we have some hummus, we have some crackers to dip into our hummus, we have some cheese. Next, we're going to make what I call the classic Armenian summer breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack. And that's because it's so versatile. There's a sandwich that we used to make growing up, and in our family we would often have it for breakfast. But then sometimes we would have it for dinner if we didn't have a plan. And often when I'm at the office, I'll take it and I'll have it for my lunch or a little snack. My cousin Paulie, he makes it usually for dinner, and he adds some protein on the side, so I'm going to show you that variation as well. So now that I've thoroughly prepped some beautiful string cheese, I'm going to take this string cheese and just move it over to my staging area right here. And I'm going to get, sorry for turning my back, folks, but I'm going to get one more cutting board. I'll be right back. Okay, so this cutting board here, put this here so you can see it. Let me move this and this. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to turn this around. Okay, so we're going to keep going. And what we have here is a cucumber. This is essential to our Armenian snack. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit in the interest of time. Oh yeah, it's already 1:30. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving here. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Oh boy. Okay, so we're just peeling this cucumber like so. And then we're going to slice it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make the classic Armenian sandwich, which looks, actually I want to say this, which looks like this. So you take this, okay, and then you put some cucumber on it. And then you put a little cheese on top. It doesn't have to be string cheese. In fact, often it's not. You can use any kind of cheese you like. You can use cheddar cheese, jack cheese. Really, it doesn't matter. Just have fun with it. And then you kind of eat it like this, or you can, you can fold it over, and you have right here this. And see, when this is soft now, you can roll it, and that's how you make caravan sandwiches. But this is what we're going to have today, which is your classic Armenian sandwich, which you can have for breakfast, you can have it for lunch, you can have it for dinner, you can have it for a snack. If you are going to have it though, you might certainly enjoy to have it with some olives. And so what I've done is I've marinated some olives for you today. You can see, I don't know if you can see that they have a little bit of a red in them. So I want to show you what goes in them ever so quickly before we get to the pièce de résistance, which is the meat. Hold on. Okay, so what this is Aleppo pepper. And Aleppo pepper is a key spice for Armenian dishes. And you can see it smells really earthy. It smells, it's fiery, but it's earthy too. It's like, I don't know, it's like fire meets earth. It's so good. And you can see this beautiful red color. You can get it in the Armenian market. It's not overly spicy. Like I said, it almost has an earthy kind of pungency to it. So essentially you take the Aleppo pepper and you put it in with some green olives. You add some olive oil. If you want, you can add a little bit of lemon if you like it even that much more tangy, or you can just stick with the basic brine of the olives. That's it. And if you want to add some chopped parsley, you can, which I've done in here. But really, it's just Aleppo pepper, olive oil, a little lemon if you want, a little parsley. That's it. And it goes really nicely because this is more mild. And so when you add this, you're going to get a little more excitement. You're going to get some tang from the hummus. But then you might wonder, well, what else am I going to have? I feel like something's missing. Well, that's when you want to bring out the meats. So here I have for you. This is Armenian charcuterie, so to speak. I got this from the Armenian market. This is basturma. Basturma is very thinly sliced. You can see it's very thinly sliced cured meat and spiced, and it's just, oh, it's so good. And then I also have a sausage here, which is called sucuk. And so I'm gonna cut a little bit of sucuk. And you can have this just, like this. You can just eat it like you would eat salami. You can fry it up with eggs. That's how we would have it, or at least that's how me and my dad would have it. I don't think my brothers went for that. But you could, like I said, you can just eat it. And if you can't get your hands on sucuk and basturma, that's okay. You can just grab some salami, grab a little bit of prosciutto. I mean, whatever you like, it doesn't matter. And you can have a nice meat product along with your picnic. So now you have, I'm gonna move this over here. Now you have what I would call kind of the perfect picnic. You've got your lavash, you've got hummus, perfect union hummus. You have your crackers, various kinds. You have some olives, you have some cheese that you can just literally just eat. But then you also have a nice sandwich. And then, of course, don't forget you have your meats. You have your basturma and your sucuk that you can have on the side. And, picnicking, I mean, this is the perfect picnic if you ask me. And picnicking is something that we really do have a tradition of doing. I know my dad said that when they were growing up, a big outing for them would be to put a picnic like this together and go over to the San Joaquin River and just play and eat and have fun. And nowadays, with us being in this COVID world, gee, it sounds like, actually that sounds like it would be a lot of fun. There's not a lot of things we can do, but a family picnic by the San Joaquin River doesn't sound half bad. And I think that it kind of goes back to the, the quote that I started with, all the arts we practice, our apprenticeship, the big art is our life. So the question is, how are we going to live it? And I think, with a picnic like this, we can live our lives magnificently. And I hope that you've enjoyed the recipes that I have shared with you today. You can go to thestrangerInYourKitchen.com. That's thestrangerInYourKitchen.com to subscribe to my blog. You can also go to @FresnoArmenian on Facebook, and that's the page where I post from the blog. So you can also see what I've been learning and what I've been perfecting and sharing with friends and family. So with that, I'm going to thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to take questions now if there are any. So I'm going to move the food over here so that we can make room for the camera. I'm going to start to get ready to take some questions. Okay. And for the questions, I'm afraid I'm going to have to put on my reading glasses. This is exciting. Okay. Oh, hello. Things have changed. We're getting older. Okay, let's see what we've got. So thank you, Cousin Christy, for your very nice comments. I appreciate that. Yay! Wash our hands. That's right. We always wash we wash our hands. Oh, thank you for sharing my blog, everyone. How nice. Oh, thank you. Yes, rest in power, Rafi. Jennifer, thank you so much. I know Rafi enjoyed meeting you, and thank you for the beautiful picture you took of Rafi, Jen. I posted that on my Facebook page today so that we can always remember Rafi looking on lovingly while we cooked. Thank you, Jenny, so much for your comments. I love it. Oh, and thank you, Auntie Carol. I know no one's so good in the kitchen as you, Auntie, but it's worth a try. Oh, how nice. Look, Rafi's hummus recipe. I wish I was sitting across the counter for a sample. Thank you, Crystal. Oh, I miss you guys. I don't know if everyone knows, but my office is right next to ACTA's office, their Fresno headquarters. And so I love seeing my ACTA friends every day and sometimes sharing food. Yay, so we have some love for garlic. Citric hummus, so interesting. Yes, didn't know you could get it in the bag. Love that special tangy taste. Thank you, Shweta. Oh, how nice. Uh-oh, looks like we've got some friends, more friends. Wow. Oh, thanks, Jen. Akmak is the best. Let's see. I don't see any questions. I think we just have a lot of really lovely friends. Do I put hummus on our sandwich? No, we do not put, I mean, you can, but not this particular sandwich. No, it is not a hummus sandwich. Let's see. Betty, what other meals did you grow up eating that you love to prepare now? Oh, well, since Vanessa's on and she was my college roommate, I have to draw attention to Izmir kufta because that was Vanessa's favorite. And it's kind of like we had a lot of meatballs growing up and different varieties of meatballs and different like coatings, sometimes bulgur wheat coating, sometimes not. So I'm going to post soon a recipe. I've been working on my Izmir kufta recipe, which is a delicious meatball. So I'm going to prepare a recipe for that, Betty, and I will post it on the blog so you can try it. We also would, of course, have shish kebab. Shish kebab is a classic. You can't go wrong with it. And chicken kebab, that kind of thing, pilaf. I would say those are the go-tos. And that's it. I don't think we have any other questions, and we've gone 40 minutes, which is just about the time frame that we were looking for. So I think what we need to do now is just go ahead and sign up. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's joined. Thank you for the comments, which were so nice. I wish that you were here and we could just spend the rest of the afternoon eating a delicious picnic together. Unfortunately, we're sheltering together, but we have to do it virtually. So I want to wish you all a beautiful rest of your Friday. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Thank you so much again to my wonderful stagehand husband, Cord. Hey! And once again, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. We're going to end our Go Live session now. Bye, everyone. See you soon.